All right, everyone. Welcome to the Positioned Podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Knight, and today I am joined by some of my best friends in this whole wide, God-loved world, Pastors Ruth and Marcel Langhorn. They've been married almost more than 25 years, right?
Yeah,
More than
yeah,
25 years.
Going 26.
going on 26.
Wow. All
November.
right, they have 9 children, 10 grandchildren. They look good, y'all. It don't crack. It don't crack. Look at that.
Hey,
Yes, yes. They're also the lead pastors of Dunamis Discipleship Ministries. No, wait a minute, wait. Let me get it straight because it's D3. Dunamis Deliverance Discipleship
come
Ministries,
on,
D3.
Got it.
That's
come
my
on.
peeps right there. And also the founders of Ignite Our Fire Marriage Ministry. They are the bee's knees people. And when it comes to the family mountain, they have climbed this mountain, conquered the mountain, planted their flag, claimed it for Jesus, and they're going to share some of that with us today. And they are definitely advocates for marriage God's way, and for strong covenant relationships. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Welcome, my friends. Welcome.
Hello, Kim. So we go back
Hello.
long ways.
Listen, I could tell some stories, but I won't. One of these days we are going to tell some of those stories because we definitely have been through the fire, the rain, a few hurricanes, a flash flood or two. Jesus, take the wheel and don't run out of gas.
But
God has been faithful through it all.
Yes, Lord.
He's been faithful through it all, and you've been good friends through it all. So I bless God for you.
Yes. We're glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. I couldn't wait. I was really excited because when it comes to marriage, y'all really are the real thing. You know, I've been privy to, I've sat at your table, right? I've held your kids' hands while they cross the street. Now they got babies of their own. I cannot believe. Oh my gosh. Right. I've seen, this is not something that's theoretical, or, sometimes you see influencers and they want to talk a good game, but you don't know how they're living behind the scenes. I know how you live.
Yeah.
Right. And y'all are the real deal. So I feel like you have so much to share. I'm going to get out of your way. One of the things that I wanted to hear from you, especially in light of, you founding Ignite Our Fire, is really, I want to go in at the deep end, y'all, because y'all know me by now. You know. Is premarital counseling really necessary? Because some folks ain't for it, or they don't feel like it's needed. So I know that's one of the things that you do in your pastoral roles, but it's also something that you focus on and Ignite Your Fire. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we've grew up. I mean, and really, when we got married over 25 years ago, we did not and have premarital counseling or had any mentorship in that area. That's been something but during the course of the years, we noticed how vital it is.
Yeah.
When it comes down to knowing your mate, knowing someone that you're going to be in covenant relationship for the rest of your life, and what that consists of. And I think a lot of times people just meditate and ponder and get so mushy about the love factor of just loving their mate. But after the love is gone, or after the love has subsided, then what? Right? Who's good in money management?
Come on.
Who's good in raising kids? What are all these other factors that come into play that we don't talk about because we're so into I love you, I love you, I love you. But there is more to marriage than just loving your mate. There are things that need to be done structurally. There's things that need to be done as it relates to coming into an agreement. There's some non-negotiables.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes on with that. So I think it's important for us to begin to navigate those questions in that. And that's what premarital sessions deal with.
Yeah. I think premarital counseling is definitely necessary. It's a foundation. It's an investment, right?
Nice.
It's how you build a strong foundation and how you begin a wise investment for your life.
Yeah.
And I think I echo what my husband said, because we didn't have that. We realized the value of it.
Yeah.
Like so many mistakes we probably wouldn't have made.
Yeah.
Things we did if we had someone sitting down and really opening up questions. That's what happens when you do premarital counseling. You begin to have questions opened up and conversations.
Yeah.
Because marriage is 100% based on communication and just understanding, learning the languages. And so those questions need to be asked. And it's an investment, a wise investment to put yourself in, for your marriage before you get married. And even while you're married, good to get marital counseling, right?
Right.
Before the fires really hit. We want to ignite your fire.
Yeah. Right.
Before it burns the house
Some of
down,
those
though,
things.
right?
Yeah.
Before it burns the house down.
Yeah. Before
Exactly.
it
Love
burns
it.
the house down.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry. I have to go back to something Marcel said, because I think it is so powerful. And sometimes, especially I know during my single season, it's so easy to get caught up in the romance piece and how you're feeling and the butterflies. And did I kiss him and my foot popped? If I see that in one more movie, right? That might be plantar fasciitis. We don't know. Like,
what?
listen, you lift up your foot for a whole lot of different reasons. Your shoe might be too tight. I don't know. But when we start talking about marriage, I'm going to need more than that. And I hear you when you're saying that romantic piece, it just wear off some by some of these practical things that we haven't put anything in place for, right? So going back to that, I think that is so key. Did you know that that uh biologically, when you are infatuated with someone for 18 months, your brain chemistry is changed. It literally changes your brain chemistry, right?
Yeah.
So that's why, people that get past that quote honeymoon stage. And then it's like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I married the wrong person. No, you're gonna have to walk this out now, right? Like just like your salvation with fear and trembling.
Right.
And what are those practical things that we need to look at putting in place before we say I do?
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you said, 18 months, but we've seen people that want to get into it in 18 weeks,
Yeah.
in 18 days.
Get married.
That's real talk.
Right.
That's real talk.
They're ready to tie the knot. They think that there's nobody else. When you don't even know the half about an individual when it comes down to that. And I think, and I've heard it, and I know it to be a reality that before you say I do, you have to know an individual in all seasons of life.
Come on, that's good.
You have to know them when how are they when they get angry? How are they, when they get stressed out? Do they retreat? Do they go to drinking? Do they go to drugging? What is it? You have to know them in all aspects of life. And I think we don't give enough time spent in premarital sessions and counseling in order for people to understand, to know their mate in all seasons. Yeah, you know them in the happy seasons, but what about when things are not going right? What about when you get sick or you broke your leg? Would your mate then come to you and assist you before you even got married? How are they going to react to it? When you can't do certain things or you're not bringing in the right income, at that particular junction of your life, not because, you're lazy or anything, because you're just in a season that you have to navigate in order to get out of that season. So it's important just to experience that gamut in a relationship so that people can know, okay, yes, I've married the right person, someone that I'm compatible with, someone that I know that will be in the right tune of where I'm going and where I'm heading at. So all of that is so necessary.
Yeah. And I think counseling opens that communication up.
Yeah.
It begins to ask those questions and present those things so that you can kind of hear a person talk. And because being pre-counseling is pretty much being a mediator, one in between, and that can really begin to present situations to the people, the spouses that are getting married, the people getting married, so that they can begin to have an open communication to say, yeah, this is how I feel about it. So, you're not bamboozled at the end, So that's what the counseling does and why it's important.
Yeah. And a lot of times I think what we need to do is, what we do in our premarital counseling sessions is that we talk about things that we know that they don't talk about.
Right.
Just really delve into things that they know. And, who's good in money management? Which one? Who handles the money? Who's the spender and who's the saver? Or both of y'all spending your life away? Who wants a house? How many kids you want? Yeah, right.
What's absolute?
What's the absolute? Right.
Yeah. What's absolute? What's negotiable?
Right. If you found in an area of infidelity, what's going to happen? How are you respond to it? Is that the end all? Is that one of your non-negotiables? Some of the things that we need to really delve into when it comes down to understanding what marriage consists of, and just allowing couples, when they do come to us, to begin to navigate those kind of questions, and then having homework to ponder and exercises to see where they are in a relationship, and how much do you really know your mate.
Right.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. So, I'm listening, and one of the things, and I've said it on the show many, many times, money issues break up more couples than infidelity. So it's very interesting that you brought up both of those things, because they're like not neck and neck, but they're, one behind the other. And you have those discussions, right? So I'm one of those people who believes that straight talk makes for straight understanding, especially before you get married. You got to know what you're getting yourself into. And this decision, to me, is so impactful. The only thing that I feel is more impactful decision-wise is your decision to follow Christ. The second most impactful decision on your life is who you marry, because that really is going to guide the course of your life, and and your directions, what you do, what you don't do, where you go, how far you can take your dreams and things like that. So that's really interesting. And what comes to mind for me then is, have you ever gotten into these counseling sessions and you're like, oh, y'all should not be married to
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just had one.
That wasn't good.
To the Lamb today.
Okay.
Glory to God.
Yeah. I think that choice, timing is everything. It's not so much always that they don't need to get married. Right. It's just that they don't need to get married now sometimes.
Yeah, that's good.
Because they're not mature enough and ready for the gamuts of things that come against marriage spiritually.
Yeah.
And so, it's important, to be honest with them and tell them the recommendation is not, you shouldn't get married, but mostly that y'all need more time.
Yeah.
That's wisdom. That's wisdom. I think that, in Titus 2, it says that the older women should teach the younger women, how to be wives and mothers, how to keep their own homes and be about their business, right? And also there is, I always say, we don't date in a vacuum. There has to be somebody who knows you and somebody who knows you. So somebody who KNOW you, who knows how you tick and what ticks you off, right? And that would be coming into counseling. And then somebody who can say no to you, like, no, this is not the time. No, this is not the person. No, this is not the place, right? Because it's to save us from disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not spend that extra 6 months worth of counseling on the front end, so we're not doing 6 years later a divorce on the back end? Ask me how I know. Jesus says, hallelujah. I come in peace. Right. But that's real talk. That's real talk, right? And I don't think that we have that discussion enough in the kingdom. If we're both Christians and we're equally yoked, not so.
Right.
So it's not enough just to be, we both love Jesus. Oh, and we love each other. Okay. But there's some real stuff that we need to talk about. Like, I don't want to see your mother every weekend and eat her chili on every Sunday night. And I don't love your mother. I that's not how I want to spend my Sunday night.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that what you're doing here is so powerful, because maybe we can impact the divorce rate, which statistically has been just as high in the church as it has
Ah,
been outside of the church, which it
Absolutely.
should.
very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, a lot of that has to do with expectations. What do you
Yeah.
think about expectations in marriage?
Whew.
Yeah. I think a lot of expectations are false, and
Yeah.
it's it's
The
it's
white picket fence.
right, huh?
The white
The
picket
white,
fence.
yeah, the white picket fence, but I think that it's only because the truth hasn't been presented to them.
Yes.
And I think that you can dream dreams and want certain things, but real life and experience. We talked about this. We talked about time equity, right? Like
Yeah.
putting that time in with people who have been married and
Mm.
saying, you know, asking the right questions and saying, you know, this is how I see it, and being flexible. Because marriage is all about flexibility.
Yeah.
Marriage is all about flexibility. And so, you know, you have to really allow yourself to become. I say that. Marriage is not, I come in here and you're gonna form to what I want. Marriage is, we come together and we're going to form
Something
into
new.
who,
Yeah.
right, God called us to be.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some tests and trials and some things, but we do believe in giving your negotiables and non-negotiables. I think that you should have that from the door. Like there's certain things that you can say, he wants 17 kids and I don't want any. We're gonna have a problem. And I don't think
Well,
you should
that's a
get
problem.
married. You know what I'm saying? And you need to be honest with each other. There should be some negotiables, or if you can't handle that, we need not get married. Something as simple as that. We believe we're gonna change people.
Yeah.
No,
No.
don't have these grand expectations of, you know, especially us women, right? We believe that I can change him. I can.
We have enough problems trying to change ourselves.
Come on. Our own, listen, our hormones go and change up on us. So we like this today.
Say
And
that.
come on. So I think the expectations we deal with a lot in marriage counseling to help you figure out what's rational, what's reasonable, and what's not.
Yeah. I think that's necessary. And I think that's what the whole basis of the marriage counseling consists of, is to have them be forced to dialogue about their desires, their wants, their likes, their dislikes, and begin to have a conversation of what that looks like. I don't like it when you did this in front of your mother-in-law. You embarrassed me. Having those kind of conversations so that there can be an understanding about, you know, how we should function in the public and in private.
Come on.
You know, and it's just those areas that I think is necessary, because the expectation, he made us feel like, okay, I'm just joking, but she may not feel that way.
Right.
And it may tap into some insecurities in her, you know, that draws the relationship apart than drawing it together. So just having those realistic expectations of what you are, who you are, and when we are joking, you know, that we both come into an agreement of what the boundaries of those areas are. You know, what are the boundaries? And I think that's what expectations help us. It helps us with boundaries, understanding what is realistic boundaries, safe boundaries, healthy boundaries for us to begin to build this new relationship that we find ourselves in.
So good. Oh my gosh, this is so good. I really think that if a lot of people took the time to really do this and were open and honest, we would have different outcomes, right? One of the things we do in Position for Love, which is my program for single sisters who want to stop embracing their singleness and get married,
Come
is
on.
you what are your expectations, right? And I call it the Cinderella story. What's your Cinderella story? Tell me what your Cinderella story, because I could tell you what mine is. Can I tell y'all what my Cinderella story was?
Yeah, come on.
Because I don't
Come
know if y'all know. Y'all don't know what my
No,
Cinderella
we don't know.
story was. You didn't know I
on.
used to say this thing. Yeah, I had to keep a little something to keep our relationship exciting.
I cannot.
So, you know, I'm a good church girl at heart, right? So, you know, my Cinderella story got to be holy.
Yeah.
Be holiness over here, okay? So my Cinderella story is I'm going to be at church one day because, of course, the only thing I was doing was church, home, and the kids and work, right? And occasional shopping. So, it had to involve the church. So I was going to be at church one Sunday. And, I always sit in the same little seat. And I was going to come, and there was going to be somebody like, a seat next to me. And it was going to be one of the families was having a family reunion. You know how all the cousins come, right? They're going to come to Big Mama's church for the family reunion. So they were all coming. And this tall, dark, handsome, rich, well-spoken man was going to come and say, "Is this seat taken?" And he was going to sit here, and the aunties were going to be in the back going, "That's the Lord putting that together. That's the Lord. That ain't nothing but Jesus right there." Now there's 300 other seats, right? But that's Jesus right there. Mm-hmm. And he was going to sit down, and one thing was going to lead to another, and then we were going to have coffee. But of course, we were going to have coffee at the reunion because we don't want to be alone together and give the appearance of evil. That's part of my Cinderella story. Lord have mercy on the church today. And for those who know, and I know y'all know, my meeting my husband didn't look anything like that. When I say it couldn't have been further down the spectrum, if we said this is the spectrum and this is one end and this is the other end, it couldn't have been further away.
Wow.
And because I met my husband online. We met and married in 8 months, and it was just totally different than it didn't hit any of my little Cinderella points. And I had to tell him, I was like, this did not pan out the way my fantasy said it should. And he just looks at me, he laughs, he walks away. But this was not my fantasy. You were supposed to come in and where are the aunties? Where are the aunties that were supposed to be like, that's Jesus? Where are they? Right? But sometimes we get so caught up in that
We miss it.
that we miss the moment. And let me tell you, can I be honest with y'all? My spiritual mother, who who I love dearly, who has spoken into my life just as long as y'all have been in my life. She said to me, I remember when I met my husband, and she was the one who pulled me out of fantasy land. And I might have missed a good husband. I might have missed this marriage if she had not known me. You know how I say you have to KNOW somebody?
Yeah.
And she was like, not so fast. Let's see where this goes. Because the one thing I was submitted, right? If you see a change in me while I'm dating him, I need you to tell me that. If I'm telling you some of the things he's saying, because whatever he said to me, I told her. Okay. I'm letting you know right now, she's gonna know all your business. All your business.
Accountability.
Okay.
Important.
And I had to do that. And even though I was 48 years old at the time, I was mentoring young women, right? So I was ministering to women. I had 4 ministries at the church I oversaw. So I wanted to be as accountable as I asked them to be. Even though at 48, people would say, you grown. I'm grown, right? At 48 years old. But I wanted to be submitted. I know that the last time I made a choice about a marriage, it didn't turn out the way I wanted. And again, we didn't have that kind of counseling. We didn't have the practical things that you were talking about. We just thought those things would work themselves out. They did not. They worked themselves out in divorce court. So when we finally started having real communication about practical stuff, we were in divorce court.
Wow.
Okay. That's a whole nother show. Y'all, I'll have to do that show. But with this one, this was different because before my spiritual mother said to me, can't y'all just go to a movie or something? Because we were so busy having those kind of conversations, right? Like, what are your non-negotiables? And you can't, ladies, you cannot have 36,000 things on your non-negotiable.
Come on.
There's a difference between boundaries and walls. There's a big difference. And let's stop watching these movies. And I'm not going to name names or networks. I'm just going to say, let's stop watching these movies where the man has to always climb Rapunzel's wall. You got to be mean and bitter. And he's got to get past all that because of your pain. And he's got to help you past your pain. Stop. That's part of the Cinderella fantasy. We're not going to do that. Right. And give this man all of this extra work that he didn't create. Oh, I'm gonna get into my preach, so I'm gonna walk away from that.
Preach,
but
you better preach.
to hear that. Somebody needed to hear that, right?
Yeah.
You need to work all that out. But we were having these practical conversations about at that time I was caretaking my mom. Like, what does that mean for us? Where would we live? Because I'm the only one who's caretaking, right? So I have all of her affairs I have to handle. I only want to be so far away. What about my children? Even though they were of adult age, but what does that mean to you?
Right.
And very practical things like the kind of work that I do, the kind of work that he did. There was an aspect of my work. He's like, I don't know if I could handle that. Because I really don't know. Because it was something that would put me into um very special situations with people who may not like that I was there. Right. So he was like, I don't know. So I was like, okay, all this has to be discussed. And what does this mean for us? And what would you need to make you feel that I was safe and all those kinds of things, right? See, that's not sexy.
Right.
Right.
That's not
Come on.
sexy.
Come on,
But,
kid.
Yeah.
but let's fast forward, right? So now we're in the marriage. It wasn't sexy beforehand, but now it'll save your sex life because you won't have all these little hidden agendas that are keeping you from wanting to be intimate with each other because you had the conversations, right?
Mhm.
So let's do that on the front end so that on the back end, I'm honestly free to be me because you already know what makes me tick. You already know who I am. We had these discussions, and I want to say, even with that, you still, to your point, Pastor Ruth over there, you still don't have to be flexible
Right.
because what worked for you year one, I can tell you right now, we're in year 8. There's some things we had to go back and go, that's not working no more. That is not, we had to revisit. Times change, people change, our needs changed.
Yeah.
Our stage of life has changed. My husband's looking at retirement. Glory be to God.
Hallelujah.
Can't wait. I know my brother over there beat us to it over there, retired and living life. Well, that changes. You gotta have those
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
Oh, hallelujah! I feel so much better since I got that off my chest.
Let's go, Kim.
Y'all, this is the way we talk when we're together. We really do. We preach at each other. We prophesy. We laugh till we cry. We cry, right?
Yeah.
And all that stuff. But in the end, I love these people like macaroni loves cheese.
We love you. Come
I'm
on.
so glad. I'm so glad. So I know that, there are so many things now that are going on with marriage, in and out of the kingdom. There are so many things that are going on in the world. What kind of insights or advice could you give to the single sisters who are looking to get married, who may be in a serious relationship right now, maybe waiting for that ring, or may just have gotten the ring? We get the ring, and then all of a sudden, you know what we want to do, right? We get the bride magazines, we get out that we get our board out, our Pinterest, we get started. We want to craft the invitations, and we want to look at the what do you call those things, of flower arrangements and all that and that's fun, and we should do that and enjoy that, right?
Yeah.
What kind of practical information can you share or tips with our single sisters that will save their marriages before they even start?
Wow. You go
You,
for it.
you want me to go first?
Yeah,
I think you should go first because I got a lot. You'll never get in, but go ahead. You go first.
Wow. I think the first thing that they need to know is their identity.
Mm,
I
yes,
I think they need to know who they are
yes.
and what God is doing in their lives, and begin to heal some of those
Mm,
areas within their own personal walk that is so necessary for them to navigate before they get intertwined with their mate.
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes that what they don't realize is that um, that marriage is not about finding the right person, but it's about having the right person that you're building together, that unity and that bond in order to grow. Uh, Oftentimes, when you hear someone that I'm looking for the right person, it almost seems as if they are looking for the right person, but they are out of sync, or they are not giving their half in order
mhm,
to contribute to become one. The Bible said the two shall become one. And it's necessary for them to unite together
Good.
and build together in order for them to experience the wholeness that they're going to experience, unlike when they were single. So that just navigating what that looks like and being open to both changing and transforming together in the image and likeness of God, but also in the responsibility and in the commitment that you both chose to be together in order to build. It is necessary for them to unite on that level as well. Yeah.
So good. Oh my gosh.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I would say preparation, like what he's talking about in yourself. There's a scripture I was just looking at. Proverbs 24:27 says, prepare your work outside and get your fields ready, then build your house. And you have to begin to sow into yourself. That's what that scripture helps me understand. When I first got married, I was young. I didn't have an opportunity. No one ever told me, like, you need to know who you are before you say I do. And I think that caused a lot of conflict because I was waiting for him to tell me who I was or someone to affirm me when I needed to know who I was. Right. And I think that if you prepare your heart as a woman for marriage, I think the greatest problem, statistics say there's for especially Christian women, 70% of married women contemplate divorce because of their perception of what their position is. They really don't understand who they are as a helpmate and what is expected of them. So their expectations, like what you said, Kim, are very grandeur and big, and they don't really understand our role as a helpmate. To help build up the man. So it's not to be their mama. Okay, it's not to tell them what to do and how to do it. But if you know who you are and begin to prepare yourself to be a wife that's full of favor, full of the favor of the Lord, you understand who you go to. You go to the King of Kings and he'll speak to the king of your household. And so a lot of it comes from not understanding, the Bible says a wise woman builds up her house with her words. And so sometimes we tear down our house, not realizing we're doing it bit by bit, little by little. You don't realize you're taking out a center block on the side because of your frustration and your lack of contentment with what you see. And part of it is because you really just don't know who you are, how you are to speak to the king in the man. And he becomes as you begin to speak, but you can't do that if no one ever really spoke up in you.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I think that, and so submission, understanding, that's my wisdom for the women, asking God to show you what that really looks like and who you are as a helpmate and how to build up your husband, how to build up your house, even though you see it looking like, listen, we're about to go down and he can't even do nothing. He don't see nothing, but learning how to build that up. And when you learn how to do this before you get married, you put this into practice. You cultivate the ground. It'll become easier. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but it will become easier to do it. And you'll find yourself staying married. You'll find yourself, choosing well. Let's say that first, right? Because you got to choose well first.
So good.
And so you have to have a standard. You're a daughter of the king, and he will tell you exactly where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, who you're supposed to be with, instead of your desires speaking to you, telling you what you want, what it's supposed to feel like, how it's supposed to sound.
So good.
But I think the world in itself, we have a false narrative of what marriage is. And if we look back just at history of what that consists of, when girls were little girls, they used to play with doll houses, and then they had Ken and they had Barbie, and they used to just play house together, and everything was just so lovey-dovey. And like I said, just a false expectation of what that consists of when it comes down to coming into realistic, real life marriage and covenant with one another, and just having that, I never heard where Barbie and Ken ever had an argument.
They don't talk.
I know, I know, but when you're playing with a Barbie and Ken, it's always a positive, happy. You know, we're going into the house together, we're playing together, we're
The
having
dream house, Barbie
the
dream house.
right? And the dream conversation, and everything is so lovey-dovey that there was no debate, there was no confrontation. There was this
There's no
no
in-laws. Wait a minute.
no
Where they mamas?
There's
there's
no
no
In-laws.
come on, come on.
all of these things and so we come into reality dealing with relationships, going to junior high school and high school, and dealing with immature males and immature relationships, and really don't know how to navigate what that is. And then we begin to compromise. We begin to compromise our values and our standards, because that's all we see in a male, in a man. And I think it's important to glean on the wisdom of those that have relationships, that healthy relationships, that are married, and begin to glean on that wisdom. And that's why premarital counseling is so important, because it helps to break down those myths and really allow the couples to have a fighting chance.
Come on.
A fighting chance with marriage.
Good.
Yeah.
So good. Oh my gosh. You know y'all are coming back, right?
We have to.
You know y'all got to come back.
Want to
Right?
cut you on?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, because this is like just the beginning. I think to me, this was the intro, right? We want to save marriages before they start. Oh my gosh, this is so
Yeah.
all right. So here's some other stuff that people need to know about y'all. So they're back here with all these kids, like 9 children, 10 grand, still looking good, still loving each other. They've had the church almost 9 years, right? And you have now Ignite Our Fire. You also have, between the two of you, at least 4 businesses that I count. I know there's more. I know there's more. And my friend Ruth over here has written several books, but my brother wrote a book. Y'all came out with y'all books the same time. I thought that was so cool. I thought that was so cool. I am going to drop in the show description the link for you to check out their books. You need to hear what they have to say, because after 25 years, 9 kids, 10 grandchildren, running the church, running the businesses, caretaking elderly relatives, and all the other stuff that comes in between, they're still together, they're still in love. And with everything I've walked through with y'all, I have never once heard either one of you mention divorce. Never. Never,
You know
never,
why?
never, never, never.
We mentioned it in the before we got married, and the conversation went something like this: I don't believe in divorce. She said, me too.
Okay.
So we knew that that was a non-negotiable for us. We may separate, we may argue, and listen, we're not here to paint a picture that our marriage is this that Barbie and Ken kind of marriage.
Not at all.
But we understood how to navigate some of the storms that we had to deal with when it came down to our marriage, and really knowing that it takes effort, and it's going to take work, and it's going to take compromising, and it's going to take forgiveness. It's going to take all of that, and most importantly, it's going to take God.
Yes.
We're going to need God to be in that equation in marriage, because when I can't hear my wife, or my wife can't hear me, somebody got to hear God.
Come on through.
Somebody got to hear the truth, and allow the truth to come into our equation in our marriage, so that we can begin to navigate another conversation about reconciliation and healing, and knowing how to go forth in our marriage. And I think that's what we've learned along the way. We've learned that along the way. So, and if people are just willing to sacrifice their own feelings and emotions, I think they'll be able to understand that they can make it work with God.
Right.
Yes.
And being honest.
To be right.
Being honest.
And being honest. I think that, like what he said, the non-negotiables, like that was a non-negotiable for us.
Yeah.
Like, if we're gonna say I do, it's going to be forever. Cut off leg. You know what I mean?
Those conversations.
Just take the wheel. Take the wheel.
I know, you know, whatever, you
gotta
know,
figure that out.
Yeah, we're not gonna get a divorce. So we don't even play with the word. We don't even mention the word. We can still have disagreement. It's okay to have conflict.
Yeah.
It's okay to have conflict. And we learned that, communication and conflict are going to work together, but resolve is what we need to have.
Yeah.
And that's what we pray to the Lord for resolve.
Yeah.
And he's giving it to you, and we love you for it. I love y'all.
Oh, we love you back.
You should. You really should.
You ain't going nowhere. Sure.
Yeah.
Child, please. I know when my bread's buttered, honey. It's all good. It's all good. Y'all are definitely going to come back. And I can't wait to have you back. I'm going to have my brother back to talk about some of the things we need to know as women about our husbands.
Yeah.
He's going to tell us some secrets. I don't know. Going to bring that man cave. We're going to get some of those secrets told.
Oh, Lord.
We know how to act once we do get married. Hello.
And can we talk about intimacy, please?
Oh, listen. Now, I have this thing on my show because I don't know if y'all been listening to all my episodes, but I have this thing on my show where I tell people this is one of those headphone episodes.
Yeah.
Okay.
People don't really know. I really married the Dr. Ruth.
Listen, I said that to her. We got to talk about this.
Passed away, but I really have the #1 Dr. Ruth in the world. I'm telling you.
We got to talk about this.
This conversation needs to be talked about.
I think it's necessary in the kingdom.
It is necessary. And we're going to have some grown folk conversation. It's going to be definitely a headphone conversation unless you want your babies to get a new education, because we're going to go in there. Y'all know I don't have a problem talking about this stuff. I think that's one of the reasons we keep getting tripped up about it, because we don't tell the truth and we're not having these kinds of conversations that we should be having, right? Woo, yes. I can't wait for the next episode when y'all come on, because this has been thebomb.com.
So good.
I listen, y'all have just filled me up for my whole week. I'm not even going to say for this episode or for this day, for my whole week. And I am so blessed to have you, not as guests, but as part of my life, and for allowing me to share you with the people. I want to just bless you as you go for all that you have poured out and the virtue that you all have poured out. And I'm looking forward to having you on again.
We can't wait. Yeah, we love this.
I'm so glad. All right, y'all. I'm going to put their contact info along with the links to their books in the show notes. And until next time, be wonderfully blessed. Bye now.
Bye-bye.